The first thing he noticed was the way she flinched. It was subtle, so subtle that no one else in the crowded restaurant seemed to see it. A glass clinked too loudly near the counter, and the young waitress froze for half a second before forcing a smile and continuing to pour coffee. Most people would have missed it. But Daniel Whitaker had spent his entire life noticing small things. That was one of the reasons he had become a billionaire. Daniel sat alone in the corner booth of the small diner, stirring his coffee slowly while the late evening crowd drifted in and out. The place was ordinary, checkered floors, soft country music humming from an old speaker, the scent of fried bacon lingering in the air. It was the kind of place billionaires rarely visited. But Daniel had never liked fancy restaurants. Too much pretending, too many people trying to impress someone. Here, people were just people, and that's why he noticed her. Her name tag read Emily. She moved quickly between tables, balancing plates with practiced precision. Her voice was warm, polite, and calm in the way someone sounds when they've learned to carry heavy things quietly. But there was something else, something wrong. Daniel noticed it when she reached across the table to refill his coffee. Her sleeve shifted slightly, and for a brief moment he saw it. A bruise dark, yellowing at the edges, old. Not the kind someone gets from bumping into a door. Emily quickly pulled her sleeve back down. Their eyes met for a second. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Daniel said nothing, not yet. He had built an empire by learning when to speak and when to wait, so he waited. For the next 30 minutes, he watched quietly, the way she kept adjusting her sleeves, the way she avoided sudden movements around one particular man sitting at the bar, the way her smile faded whenever she passed him. The man's was large, mid-40s, thick beard, loud voice. The type who occupied space like the world owed him something. Each time Emily walked past, his eyes followed her. Possessive, Daniel felt a quiet knot tighten in his chest. He had seen that look before too many times. When Emily finally returned with the check, Daniel gently slid the bill folder toward himself. "You've been working here long?" he asked casually. "About a year," she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. "Busy place, most nights." Daniel nodded slowly. Then he said something unexpected. "Someone hurting you?" The question landed like a stone dropped in still water. Emily froze. For a moment, the entire restaurant seemed to disappear. Her eyes flicked toward the man at the bar, then quickly back. She forced a small laugh. "I'm not sure what you mean." Daniel didn't push. He simply slid a business card across the table. Black minimal, just his name, Daniel Whitaker, and a phone number. "If you ever need help," he said quietly, "call me." Emily glanced at the card, then at him. Something in her expression softened for a fraction of a second, like a person standing in the rain, who had just seen a distant light. But just as quickly, she tucked the card into her apron and stepped away. Daniel left a large tip and walked out into the cold night air. For most people, the moment would have ended there. But Daniel Whitaker wasn't most people. 2 nights later, his phone rang at 2:17 a.m. He answered immediately. On the other end, silence, then a quiet, shaking voice. Is this Daniel?" "Yes, it's Emily." He sat up straighter. "What's wrong?" There was a long pause. Then he heard something that made his stomach turn, a muffled sob. "I didn't know who else to call." 20 minutes later, Daniel's black car pulled up outside a small apartment building on the edge of the city. The neighborhood was rough. Broken streetlights, empty sidewalks, paint peeling from the buildings. Emily stood near the entrance, wrapped in a thin jacket. Even in the dim light, Daniel could see the fresh bruise on her cheek. She looked smaller than he remembered, more fragile. When she opened the passenger door, she hesitated. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. Daniel looked at her gently. "No one deserves to be hurt," he said, and for the first time that night, Emily began to cry. Over the next few days, Daniel learned the truth. The man at the bar was named Rick. He wasn't just a customer. He was Emily's boyfriend, controlling, violent. For 2 years, he had slowly isolated her from friends and family. Each apology came with promises. Each promise lasted only until the next moment of anger. Emily had believed she could fix it. Many people do. Daniel listened quietly as she told the story. And then he did something no one expected. He didn't just help her leave. He changed everything. First, he moved Emily into a safe apartment across the city. Then, he connected her with a lawyer and counselors who specialized in helping abuse survivors rebuild their lives. But that wasn't the part that shocked the city. That came later. 3 weeks after Emily left Rick, a press conference was announced downtown. Hundreds of reporters gathered, cameras flashing as Daniel Whitaker stepped onto the stage. Beside him stood Emily. She looked nervous but stronger. Daniel spoke calmly into the microphone. "3 weeks ago, I met a young woman who reminded me how easy it is for the world to ignore quiet suffering," the crowd murmured. Daniel continued. "Tonight we're changing that." Behind him, a large screen lit up. The words appeared in bold letters. "The Emily Project." Gasps spread across the room. Daniel explained the initiative. a nationwide network of safe housing, legal aid, counseling, and financial support for victims of domestic abuse. The initial funding, $50 million. Reporters erupted with questions. Why name it after her? Why now? Daniel glanced toward Emily. Then he answered simply, because one person speaking up can change everything. Emily stepped forward slowly. Her voice trembled, but she spoke clearly. For a long time, I thought no one saw what was happening to me. She paused. Tears shimmered in her eyes, but someone did. Across the room, people began wiping their eyes. Because suddenly, this wasn't just a billionaire's announcement. It was a story about courage, about being seen, about the moment someone chooses to care. Months later, the diner looked the same. Same checkered floors, same smell of coffee. But one thing had changed. Emily stood behind the counter, not as a waitress, but as the diner's new owner. Daniel had quietly purchased the place and given it to her. Why? She had asked. He simply shrugged. Because you deserve a fresh start. That evening, as the dinner rush faded, Emily stepped outside. The sky glowed pink with sunset. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Proud of you, Emily smiled. Not the forced smile she once wore for customers, a real one. Because sometimes the most powerful thing in the world isn't money. It's noticing someone's pain and choosing to do something about it. And in a city that had once ignored her quiet suffering, Emily Carter had become something else entirely. Proof that kindness, especially from a stranger, can change the course of a life forever.